Dan, Joel, Zion, Markim. Nickelodeon once ran one of the greatest stories on television of an avatar who had to bring balance to the world. Then, everything changed when M. Night Shyamalan attacked. The creators of Avatar made Legend of Korra for our viewing pleasure. But, when the world needed them the most, they vanished. 15 years have passed and I have created a new podcast, The Order of the White Lotus. And although our podcasting skills are great, we have a lot to learn before we save anyone. But I believe we can save the world. The second episode of The Order of the White Lotus is now in session. We got Joel, Zion, Markim, and Dan in the studio today, talking everything from The Last Airbender all the way to Legend of Korra. How are you guys feeling today?
I'm feeling great.
Dun, 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 dun.
And what he said.
Every time
That's a strong emotion. All right, so today we got episodes 3 and 4 for you today, and we are going to be starting with episode 3, obviously, the Southern Air Temple. So following on the back heels of leaving the Southern Water Tribe, we get to our first landmark location of their journey to the North Pole. We have the Southern Air Temple. So in this episode, right off the bat, we see Aang and Katara talking about what they're going to see at the Southern Air Temple. Aang is super excited to see all of his monk friends and all of his teachers and all these different kinds of bison and lemurs and, just having fun everywhere. Where, as we know, it's been 100 years since he's gotten out of the iceberg, or he's gotten into the iceberg. And what he's going to see is not what he like, not what he's going to like. So in this episode, Katara is definitely, she's aware of the situation and she tries to let Aang know, like, hey, prepare yourself for what you're going to see because
the entire
she
time.
barely tries. She could have tried harder.
Okay, but it's to protect his feelings. What do you,
right,
what do you want to do?
He's a 12-year-old kid.
But it would have been better if she already told him.
Well,
if anything,
Sokka definitely tries to convince Katara to tell him.
And I feel like that was the best way to go about it.
Exactly.
I feel the same way.
Regardless, even if the end result was him going into the Avatar state and destroying everything, I think it would have been better to happen sooner rather than later, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's true.
So,
And no matter what situation in life, that's the best way to go. Just be forward with the truth.
Yeah.
A wise man once said, actually, I forgot the quote.
Oh, man.
I was going to say, the outcome still would have been the same. But, having him, they're not all that close right now.
Right.
And I feel like if it was something that happened later on in the series, they would have told him,
right?
Because they're closer, they're friends, they have a lot more trust in each other.
Yeah, realistically, they've only known each other for what, a day?
Weeks?
No, a couple weeks.
Couple weeks at this point.
Oh, really?
Yeah, at that point.
Oh, dang. Okay, so we got a little time skip.
It's not
action.
like around the corner, Dan.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like a week and some change after.
So yeah, and then we also get introduced to another. Well, we'll call him an antagonist alongside Zuko, but he's more of an antagonist for Zuko than anything else, because obviously, Aang doesn't know who he is yet. We get to meet Admiral Zhao. Right,
Zhao?
Admiral, right?
Yes.
No,
Okay.
General.
No,
he's
he's commander.
He's commander.
Commander,
Oh,
he
right.
becomes... Okay, so he's Commander Zhao now, and he's known for his attitude and his sideburns.
Oh, you gotta love those.
Attitude and
That's what I got. He's a very menacing character. Zuko's still young. Zuko's only a teenager. So this is, other than Iroh, this is the first main character from the Fire Nation that we meet that's an adult.
Yeah.
And he's an antagonistic force for Zuko because Zuko obviously knows where the Avatar is, and the Fire Nation is also hunting for the Avatar. And, Zhao wants a piece of that glory, so he's like, where is he? Something tells me that you found him because, the ship is still destroyed. They have to get it repaired. And they're like, we crashed into an Earth Nation ship. That's it. That's all we're telling you. But Zhao, we'll see throughout the episode, is very, he's what do you call it? Suspicious of Zuko. So we finally get some opposition for Zuko other than, obviously our gang that we've met so far.
I was gonna say you see that he's sus about it because he already sent his guards to interrogate Zuko's like off the bat. He was like, nah, something's
Yeah, they
fishy
were
about
just like,
this.
let's go have some tea. And while they're having tea,
Right. He's already.
It was a
investigated.
diversion.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
they
was a
investigated
diversion.
the crew that was already on the ship.
Yeah, we see Zhao is ruthless to get what he wants, and this is not the only time we'll see him. We'll see him later on in this season as well. Then going back to the Southern Air Temple, we get more Aang reminiscing of his times with the Southern Air Temple, and we meet his father figure / teacher / mentor, Monk Gyatso.
Well, before we even get to the temple, do you guys think that Avatar Aang had some sort of idea or some sort of awareness that like maybe his tribe wouldn't be there or something, or do you guys think he was completely like gullible to the situation?
I think at first he was gullible, but then when he got to the temple and noticed that not a lot of people were there, I think that's when he started getting suspicious.
Yeah, I think even before getting there, he was hopeful. He was optimistic about what he's gonna see. Like he's gonna you gotta meet these monks and all this stuff, but in the back of his mind, he was like, they're probably not there anymore. Because remember how everyone was so surprised to see an airbender after all this time. He has to know that people are not common with airbenders, and there's a reason for that.
You see it on his face when they're on like Appa riding to like the air temple temple.
Yeah.
You could see like there's a little bit of doubt. He's like, yeah, you're right, but like he still wants to be optimistic about the situation.
Yeah.
Yes, and he also other than this plot, he also flirts with Katara a lot. So we see a lot of their relationship kind of forming. Sokka is getting a little used to Aang being around. So we get more a dynamic between them as a whole. And then going further into the Southern Air Temple, they're playing airball on these sticks, a game that they would play if there were monks around alive still. Because we know that they were, we obviously know that they were all killed because they were trying to look for the Avatar. And they knew that the Avatar was airbender, so they went to each of the temples and slayed the airbenders.
That's crazy, though, how, they all know the cycle.
Oh yeah, it's 10,000. It's been around 10,000.
Yeah, it's pretty common knowledge. And remember, the guy who started this war, he was very smart.
Yeah.
So we'll find out about that later. But
season 2.
Yeah. So and then after this whole debacle, we see Aang's relationship with Gyatso, and we see Gyatso as a father figure to Aang. Even now, throughout all this lore and backstory, we still don't really know about Aang's parents. And we never do. No. So meeting Monk Gyatso is the next best thing to a father for Aang. He's the one that guides him through what it's like being the Avatar, telling, hey, you're not ready yet, but we're gonna prepare you as much as we can.
So you're telling me not even in the comics there were no backstories?
Nope.
Wow.
I know.
That kind of makes me sad.
Yeah.
I kind of want to know now.
Aang is a very mysterious Avatar.
He is. He really is. No, you go.
I was gonna say there's virtually nothing aside from him becoming Avatar, and then from there.
Yeah, exactly. And then even after that, we in Korra, you would think there'd be a little bit more, to Aang, kind of like how he lives his adult life, but there's really not.
No,
we know he was
serious.
Yeah,
I was gonna say you do learn a lot about Aang, subliminally throughout Korra, but that's a conversation for
deadbeat dad. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah,
slightly.
Yeah. So after that, we see Katara and Sokka talk about how we're gonna have to tell him. We're either gonna tell him or he's gonna find out. And Katara's like, well, I'm concerned for his feelings.
She's beating around the bush, man.
Yeah,
freaking
OD. And then
I don't like that.
They go into the what would you call it, Avatar room in the
sanctuary.
The sanctuary.
Sanctuary, yeah.
And Aang sees, Aang basically realized what the Avatar means because he was told that he was the Avatar at a young age, but he never really got to meet never really knew what that meant or got to meet any of his past lives. So this is the first time he sees all these past lives, and it's a huge tower of people that have been the Avatar before. So we learn, and then we also other than the opening story, we also see the cycle of it. It's like, oh, this guy was a firebender. Like, oh, you were a firebender before. And Sokka's like, oh, that's why I didn't like you initially, because you used to be a firebender, and Sokka hates firebenders. So we kind of get a relationship, a spiritual connection between each avatar. And Aang walks up to his past life, avatar Roku. He's like, oh, that's Roku. Katara's like, how do you know who that is? Aang's like, I don't know, just kind of knew. So we finally get to see the avatar connection come to, the forefront. And then they meet the flying lemur that everyone's familiar with in the show, named Momo. Sokka wants to eat it. Aang wants to catch it and make it his pet. And by chasing Momo, he ends up, in this little hut, I guess. Sees a whole bunch of Fire Nation soldiers dead on the ground. And then at the end of that hall, we see Monk Gyatso's skeleton. Aang notices the necklace around him, notices the robes, and he's like, overwhelmed with sadness and anger.
Yeah, because at that point he knew, like he was like, oh dang,
like his worst fear came true.
Yeah, if this guy's dead. They're all dead.
Yeah, because that had to be a possibility in the back of his mind, but that was like worst case scenario.
Yeah,
and it ended up coming true. So in this heat of furious rage, he goes into the avatar state, and for some reason, when he went for the first time, it didn't let all the spirit temples know, but when he goes this time, it lets everybody know, Fire Nation, basically anyone involved in a spiritual temple that has to do with the avatar, they let it, the blue light gets shown, and it just lets everybody know that the avatar is back.
There has to be a reason why that didn't happen.
I feel like it's because he went to the sanctuary.
Right.
If it wasn't because of that, he would have never got connected with his ancestors.
I think because he was in a much more spiritual environment, because the show does, not the show, but like the avatar state kind of revolves around being like
spiritual.
So when he first went into the avatar state, it
was more for self-protection, because it was like, he was in the water, he was hurt, and the avatar state kind of reawakened him and let him like use a power. But then after that, he like passed out. This time, I don't know. I just feel like there's a more spiritual connection with this avatar state, because it was out of anger, and now he knows about his past lives.
I think it was just the location, because at that point when he went into it, all the statues, their eyes glowed at the same time.
That's true. And that's where we see the blue light, and let Fire Lord Ozai know the avatar has returned.
I'll concede on that. There's no other explanation, rather.
There really is.
True.
What if there's like multiple stages of the avatar state? Like there's a preliminary stage where like, all right, I'm in the avatar state, but only because I want to utilize
Remember, he's in the iceberg in the avatar state.
But he didn't do it himself.
But it's the same thing that happened in episode 2. The first time he puts himself in that iceberg,
it was a defense mechanism.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And I think this one, just location. That's the only way I can see it, to be honest.
Plot hole.
Hey, you know what? There's not that many, so
honestly,
whenever there's a plot hole, it's very glaring, because this show is definitely not known for having plot holes.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's very knit together.
And so we kind of see Katara being the mediator for the avatar state. Sokka doesn't really know how to talk Aang through it, but Katara knows exactly what to say. Kind of like a Black Widow and Hulk situation, if everyone's familiar with the Avengers. She knows exactly what to do to calm him down, and he's just sad. And after he, his little fit in the avatar state, he's just sad. And then after that, he kind of gets over it, and we see a little reformed Aang, knowing that that I am the last avatar, or the last airbender, and we get the title of the show. Now we realize why he's the last airbender.
So I feel like Katara is like the mediator, because she's always had this like motherly instinct.
True.
Like especially like with Sokka, like even though she's younger than Sokka, I believe she always has that motherly like instinct that she has to go to. Yeah. So she knows how to deal with like those emotions a lot better than Sokka would.
Right, because we don't meet their parents for a while.
Yeah,
we don't know who their parents are for a long time. So we see that they're they have a parental side between both of them, because he has to act as the elder and she has to act as the mother for the kids. You know,
Yeah.
Sokka leads the kids into fighting. Katara leads everyone into, you know, making sure everyone's
like they're protected.
yeah,
It's-
put together. So that's the end of that storyline for that episode. But then we jump back to Zuko and Zhao. We see Zhao and Zuko butting heads of who's going to get the honor of capturing the Avatar. And through this interaction, we see Zuko, you know, bring up that he's a banished prince. You know, we don't, you know, we see the scar. We see him traveling alone with his uncle, but we don't know why. And now we know why, because he was banished from the Fire Nation, and the only way he thinks he can come back is by finding the Avatar. And Zhao plans to exploit this by, you know, keep your mouth shut. You got the, you know, you're banished. If your father wanted you, he would have brought you back already.
He's
so,
not wrong,
Avatar,
though.
no Avatar.
Yeah, he's not wrong. That's what's crazy about
And
it.
it takes him like such a long time to realize that.
Yeah.
Right.
Like
For
way
2
too
seasons.
long.
way too long. Yep.
3 whole seasons, bro.
Yeah, but
Oh, I thought you were gonna say something.
no.
Yeah. So you know, Zuko and Zhao, you know, they agreed to fight each other to see who's gonna go after the Avatar first. Because Zhao, you know, he's ruthless. He ends up going after the Avatar anyway, despite, you know, getting his butt kicked by Zuko. But you know,
Which I don't.
I gotta hear. I gotta hear. This. Yeah.
No, the fact that all right, so they fought it out,
yes,
right? Again,
Great,
another.
it was a great looking fight. That's
was-
what the
no, it was-
last Airbender gets right every time is the
Yeah,
fighting
the fights
styles,
are. I
the
do love the
choreography.
fights for sure.
It's so good.
Yeah, unlike the movie.
Oh, let's not
we don't talk about it.
That'll
sorry.
be an episode in itself.
bring it up again.
I can't not bring it up.
Don't bring it up again.
That'll be an episode in itself. I can't wait to bash on that movie.
So, all right. So you have a teenager fighting what is he? A commander?
Commander.
Yes.
Fighting a commander. I don't care who trained Zuko. You don't win against
You cannot
someone
say
that's.
you don't care about who trained Zuko because
All
you
right.
have Iroh.
You have General Iroh, sure, but think about who Zuko is as a character, right? We knew that. Well, we don't know now, but him growing up, he wasn't the best firebender even through the trainings.
Yeah. Yep.
And you see that Iroh was having issues like telling him what to do because he just. Right, he was saying, "Oh, you have to do it from the stomach, not out of anger or whatever." You can see, like, he doesn't know how to control his power.
But he still tries it.
So
right, but remember what Iroh told him during that fight: go for his roots. Like Iroh legit just gave him advice, and Zuko followed it, and then he won.
So
'Cause Zuko was losing.
He was in the beginning.
I agree with Zeon. I agree, but we needed that to happen for character development, very minor character development, because that shows that Zuko is willing to learn, and it pays off. Like his training pays off, but at the same time, Commander.
Teenager, exactly. It
There's
just
a
doesn't
clear,
make sense.
there's a clear.
But the commander
experience
went into that fight thinking he's already gonna beat him, regardless of what
Oh,
he's already know.
he underestimated.
He
him,
underestimated him.
just like Zuko did
again.
with Aang.
Character development.
Right. You know, we learned that Zuko, and I mean, he even says it. You know, Zuko underestimated Aang. That's why he was able to get away.
Yeah.
And now we have Zhao underestimating Zuko.
That's
Obviously-
happened multiple times.
Obviously, with the help of Iroh. Once we'll find out one of the best firebenders in all the
Godlike.
nation. And Iroh steps in after Zhao. Zuko turns his back. Zhao tries to get a sneak attack on him. Iroh sneaks in and just like overpowers Zhao with the greatest of ease. So we see that Iroh is a very capable firebender right from the jump, and he has a lot of faith in Zuko. That's why he's on this journey with him. He doesn't see Zuko as a lost cause like Zhao does. So we already see a very strong bond between Iroh and.
Did you just
Zuko.
say Iroh was the greatest firebender?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Next to Roku.
Are we forgetting about Firelord Ozai?
No.
I said he's one of the
wash.
greatest.
Okay, I think Iroh is the
I
best
think he's great.
fire.
Yeah, he's not the. Well,
Firelord Ozai's internet? I can't believe you. No,
Ozai,
we don't even know who Ozai is yet. Relax.
That's true. I know. But he's the Firelord for a reason.
That's true.
Yeah, he's the Fire Lord because of bloodline.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a whole nother discussion.
We'll get into it.
why he's the king. But so we get out of that plot line. Zuko and Iroh are continuing to go after the Avatar while the Avatar tries to go to the North Pole. that's how the Southern Air Temple. So what I got from that episode is Aang is coming to terms with who he is. Zuko is also coming to terms with who he is, because we get a little more backstory on his, banishment from the Fire Nation and why he's seeking the Avatar so much, is to restore that honor. And, Aang is just going to the North Pole, trying to learn waterbending. That's it.
Yeah.
It's often too many times throughout the show that the parallels between Zuko and Aang intertwining is like ridiculous.
It is.
Yeah.
It's literally like they progress at the same rate if you really think about it.
Yeah. Which, well, I think we talked about in episode 1. We come to, what the hell?
That was my watch. Sorry.
Oh, we come to like a realization that destinies are like meant to intertwine.
Oh yeah, there's literally a whole episode.
Yeah, plenty of times.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like Mark him said, they progress at the same time. Obviously, we can't have Zuko, winning because he's an antagonist. So we need the protagonist to proceed with his adventure.
Yeah.
So right now, whatever battle or conflict they get into, it's usually gonna have Aang and the gang winning. Just
Usually.
that
The
way,
Aang gang.
that way they can progress with their mission. So right after this, right after the Southern Air Temple, they continue their journey to Kyoshi Island in episode 4, the Warriors of Kyoshi.
I think that was episode 4. Dang.
Yep.
Dang.
So we already get to a character we'll see many times throughout the series. The episode starts with a little Aang flirting with Katara, as they usually do. He wants to go to this island to ride some elephant koi, some big giant koi fish. Gets threatened by the unagi. We get a little comedy there, and as they're recovering from this unagi giant eel incident, we get the Kyoshi warriors capturing them with stealth and sneak attack. Now, who are the Kyoshi warriors? They are a legendary band of female warriors who hail from this island, named after a previous avatar.
What's that avatar's name?
Avatar
Kyoshi.
Kyoshi.
Wow.
You
No.
just said it was named after.
I wonder who.
Sokka being the sexist that he is, because there's no other way to put it at this point.
It shows in this
Yeah,
episode.
it really does. Yeah.
And they take the blindfolds off, and Sokka's like, "Who captured me? Who was able to?"
He's
get
like,
the
"Where's
best
the
of me?"
guys
He's
that?"
the,
Yeah,
where's
where's
the
the-
men that
where's
got
the-
us?
And take off the blindfold, and it's like, "Whoa, these are all women." Okay, where's the guys? Like, stop messing with me. I know you guys didn't take me prisoner. There's no way you guys could take me prisoner. And Sokka's trying to rebel with the fact that he just got beat by a whole bunch of girls, and we'll soon find out why this is a big deal later on in the episode. But right now, they're like, send them to the unagi. They're imposters, and Aang shows them that he's an avatar, and this being an island named and a birthplace for a previous avatar, immediately start worshiping him. And this is the first episode where we see avatar privilege and avatar ego come to
What
fruition.
did you just say?
Privilege
Avatar
Oh,
privilege.
okay.
Yeah.
and ego.
All right. Yeah.
You deaf?
Because right away,
No,
Aang performs a little trick, a little airbending trick, and people go crazy. One guy foams at the mouth.
Yeah, that
the
killed
young
me.
little girls are going crazy. He's starting to feel like, hey, like people love me. This is a feeling I've never really felt before. So, it kind of lets it go to his head. And Katara, is Aang's friend, Aang's, mentor, make sure that he's keeping a level head. But, Katara's getting a little jealous of all this attention that he's getting, and she kind of gets upset with him, and we see Aang having so much fun, and Katara just practicing a little water bending in a bowl, and trying to get supplies, trying to keep this mission together.
Her motherly instinct.
Right, because she's lived with that for so long, especially living in the southern water tribe.
Yeah.
And Aang is having a lot of fun dealing with all this stuff, and we go to Sokka's storyline because he as much as Aang and Katara get a lot of spotlight in this episode, it's definitely Sokka who develops as a character the most. In this 22-minute episode, he has years of character development. He goes and past the Kyoshi little dojo, and he sees them practicing. Hey, mind if I join your little dance practice? And he gets shown up. He's like, okay, try to block this move. And the Kyoshi warriors, and in this case, Suki, the leader of the Kyoshi warriors, plants him firmly on his ass, humbles Sokka to the point where Sokka later apologized to Suki and asked her to be his teacher, to teach him some moves, you know. You guys have anything to add to that?
I was gonna say that would have humbled me ASAP.
Yeah.
Like the way he got his ass handed to him, like, my ego would have been shattered.
Yeah.
But like that just goes to show Sokka isn't closed-minded. It goes to show that he realizes anybody could do anything. Females can do just as much as
If
males
not
can
better,
do.
yeah.
If not better, yeah, exactly.
Because the thing is, you know, he's grown up ever since at a young age. You know, he had his father to teach him stuff, but ages 8 to 13, you know, he really has no one to teach him. So he's kind of been teaching himself. And obviously being the best warrior in his little tiny tribe is going to inflate his ego a little bit. So now he finally gets to learn from people that have studied this art for all their life, pretty much. Because Kyoshi, as we realize, is a way of life, you know, especially in that tribe. You know, they have their fans, they have their Wing Chun like style of martial arts, you know, using their opponent's force against them. So he finally learns an actual art form of martial arts. So I think it's great. I think Sokka definitely learns a lot. You know, he decides to get this teaching from Suki, puts on the makeup, puts on the iconic, you know, samurai looking outfit, kind of like a geisha face paint. You know, Suki informs him like, "Hey, this stuff is ancient history. Like, you're about to learn some crazy stuff." And you know, Sokka, you know, gets it pretty quick.
Yeah.
Suki throws a blow at him. He reflects it and gets her back. And she's like, "Oh, I let you fall. Like, oh, I fell just to make you feel better." And Sokka's like, "Nah, you did it. Like, I'm learning." And you know, you see a stronger bond form between them.
Yeah.
Because obviously, you know, Sokka in the beginning of the episode was like, girls, whatever. Like, there's no way you could take me. And now he's learning from a girl and getting better because of it. So, and then you got Aang reminding him like, "Oh, nice dress. Like, you're still dressed like a girl. Like, don't get it too over your head." And you know, because of all this attention and because of, you know, obviously Zuko just trying to hunt the Avatar, Zuko finds this island and is able to track down Aang, and now we have trouble on Kyoshi Island.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. So we started a trend here where wherever Aang goes, Zuko goes.
right
Yeah.
there.
We kind of have like a Goku from Dragon Ball Z situation where he just attracts, you know.
But it's news because everyone's excited to see the Avatar. So once people find out that he's the Avatar, news spread pretty quick. And that's
Right.
how this guy found out where he was.
Yeah, and Zuko, you know, is going to be traveling and following Aang throughout this whole journey. You know, there will be episodes where Zuko is not a antagonistic force, obviously, but you know, it's either at the beginning or the end of every episode we see Zuko like find out where he's going.
Yeah.
And we get like a nice cliffhanger because, you know, no matter how much fun we see Aang have or how much character development, Zuko's always in the back of everyone's mind because we know that he's after the Avatar, and you know that he'll stop at nothing to get
he'll
them.
do whatever he wants just to get him.
Yeah. So then, you know, Zuko comes on the island, starts burning stuff, you know, threatening, "Where's the Avatar? Or I'm going to burn this thing to the ground." And, you know, we see the Kyoshi warriors come out, you know, obviously the defense mechanism of the island, beating all these firebenders. We kind of see firebending not as good, you know. These are soldiers, these are foot soldiers for the Fire Nation army. Their firebending is subpar at
Yeah,
best.
I was gonna say lackluster.
You think it's because they're riding the rhinos?
I don't know.
Maybe they're not used
That
to
should give them more leverage, if anything.
Yeah.
But it's less movement.
So my standpoint is I'll use Zuko as an example for this one. Zuko's obviously has a little bit more experience than the average firebender, but like when Suki came after him, he used his steed and he used his firebending pretty well. So I think it's just lack of like training,
Experience.
yeah,
Okay.
and experience.
I mean, you think about it, you know, the Fire Nation has been taken over for this entire time, you know, and as we'll see later, the Earth Kingdom doesn't really oppose the Fire Nation like that, so they don't really fight that often. So when they do,
Yeah.
they look terrible.
Goofy.
Yeah, I was
They
gonna,
look goofy,
I was
yeah.
gonna say quantity over quality.
Yes, they just think that having more soldiers than everybody else is going to win.
I mean, it worked for the past 100 years. So
that's true, and that's because fire is such a destructive force. Like we see, we see airbending, can cause a little bit of destruction when used wrong, but firebending, no matter what you do with it, it's going to cause a fire and that's going to spread, especially when you have grass huts and wood like Kyoshi Island does. So Aang is like, we got to get out of here. If we stay here, they're going to destroy this entire village and we can't let them do that. Like, they're our friends. And Katara's like, yep. Like, this is like the first time in your life where running is good.
Yeah. Well, she made a good point because like they were actually chasing him. Like if he's not there, there's no point in being there.
Mm-hmm. Right. When they, when Aang gets on Appa and, gets the rest of the gang packed up and they leave, Zuko's like, oh, after the Avatar, don't waste your time here. We need to go after them. And then Aang, being such a savior for his friends and close people that he's met, he gets the unagi, which is a nice throwback, and douses water on the village to dry them off from all the fire. So it just goes to show that Aang, despite being a runaway and a pacifist, like we said before, just does whatever he needs to do to help people that have helped him or shown at least appreciation to him. Because he hasn't been used to that. No. Especially in the Southern Air Temple, he has monks. They're all pacifists. Everyone's nice to each other all the time. It's like they have to be, especially for the Avatar. So it's a nice little send off for Aang and the gang as they leave Kyoshi Island. Kyoshi is thankful, or the inhabitants of Kyoshi Island are thankful for him that he's graced them with their presence. And we also see Suki and Sokka, a little bit before they leave. Suki shares a special moment with Sokka. We see our first cheek kiss of the show. Sokka is like, I'm sorry for treating you so bad just because you're a woman. Like, what can I do to repay you? And Suki's like, hey, I'm still a girl. Like let me still kiss you. Like, I still like you. And it's a nice little start moment of their relationship, for sure. And then after they leave, they discuss what they're, they don't really discuss what they're going to next. They just on the run.
Show up.
Yep, they're just on the run.
They're nomads.
Now. Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Zuko's still angry about not capturing the Avatar. That'll be a recurring theme. And that ends the Warriors of Kyoshi. So we get a nice little backstory for a previous Avatar. We get a little bit of the Avatar ego. We get a little Katara jealousy. This is a lot of character development, especially for Sokka. This was definitely a Sokka episode more than anyone else, I gotta say. So that breaks it down. That's the end of episode 4. Any other thoughts? Any questions?
One thing that I found it funny that they weren't supposed to tell him that he was the Avatar until he was 16, but they had to. But why? Oh,
because of the war. Because of the war. That's the only reason why they told him 4 years too early. Because the Fire Nation they were like, all right, well, Fire Nation's about to start taking over, so we gotta prep.
Right, and the thing is, in Korra, it's a big difference because she knows she can bend all the elements. So that's why they tell the spirit temples to come down there and check. Yeah. But as in Aang's case, he only knows airbending, so they had to do that test with the toys to see if he was the Avatar, which it turns out he was.
So that test is an Avatar universal thing, I believe. It happened in Korra also. So if they choose the certain the certain order of toys, that means like they're the Avatar.
But she was already bending though.
Yes.
When they saw her.
Yes, but they also do go into it. They like. It's like a staple of figuring out, like, obviously, she can bend. Other elements. I was gonna say she can bend all 3 elements, but like it's like, all right, it's definite. Like if the Avatar chooses these 4 relics, then like that's your duty.
Gotcha. Yeah, and obviously Aang is only 12 years old, and knowing all this stuff that he's missed and all this stuff he has to do takes a toll on him for sure, as we'll see in a later episode, Dreams and Nightmares.
I was gonna say this episode also, like we kind of grazed over it, but if you really think about it, Aang is very kiddish in this episode because he hasn't really had a chance to have a childhood. Like he's 12 years old. He got put he got put into this avatar duty, and you see it in later episodes too. Like, it took time away from his friends. He got very self-isolated because he's spending all this time trying to,
But I feel like that's the same for Korra, because they found out when she was Avatar when she was really young, and then
Well,
throughout that whole time,
the difference with her and with Korra and Aang was Korra wanted to be the Avatar. She didn't realize.
She was more brash.
Yeah, exactly. Where Aang kind of just wasn't ready for it yet.
Yeah, like he's still enjoying. He's at the prime of his like childhood, and you see it a lot in this episode. There's a lot of immature like qualities that just like come out in Aang during this episode, like the jealousy, like you were saying, and the Avatar, like being the Avatar, getting to your head, and just trying to have as much fun as possible.
Yeah. Like the only reason why they were there is so that he can ride the koi.
Yeah,
he just wanted to have fun. Like he was just like, I kind of lied. I want to stop here just to ride some elephant koi. Like, I'm sorry, guys. And he really just did that to impress Katara, which it kind of did. But then Katara, being the mother that she is, like, Appa, don't eat that. And Aang gets sad.
we never find out what Appa was eating.
Nope. I know, we never see him eat until next episode. But yeah, that's about it for this episode of The Order of the White Lotus. I hope you guys learned a lot. We learned a lot watching the show. If you guys want to watch this show, there's DVDs. You can watch it on Amazon Prime Video through the Nickelodeon channel. And, please do yourself a favor and watch this show, because this show is great. It has a lot of life lessons, and we'll continue through episodes 5 and 6 with our next episode. So until then, you guys have a great day. Stay safe, stay clean, and have a good one.
Peace.
Bye. I've been wanting to do this for a while now.